So, Joe, you're known as America's toughest sheriff. You served as sheriff of Maricopa County for 6 terms from 1993 to 2016. During your tenure, you committed so many atrocities, you should be doing this interview from inside a glass box.
A Justice Department report in 2011 said your office engages in a pattern or practice of unconstitutional policing, engages in racial profiling of Latinos, unlawfully stops, detains, and arrests Latinos, and unlawfully retaliates against individuals who complain about or criticize the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office policies, or what racists call a job well done.
Absolutely. You operated an outdoor jail full of over 1,000 inmates convicted of nonviolent crimes, where the temperatures reached 145 degrees in the summer and in the 30s in winter, exposing you to lawsuits for stealing ideas from Abu Ghraib.
At least 157 inmates died that we know about, with 39 of the 157 hanging themselves, not to mention the mothers who lost their babies due to your department's mistreatment. Something evangelicals should be upset about, but for some odd, definitely not skin color related reason aren't.
Because your office devoted so many resources to unlawfully arresting Latinos, you failed to investigate a large number of sex crimes. 432 cases of sexual assault and child molestation were not properly investigated over a 3-year period ending in 2007. Now that's just 3 of your 24-year term. We tried to do the math on how many cases that likely meant total, but our calculators just kept reading, "I didn't know man was capable of this."
One of those cases was a 13-year-old mentally handicapped girl raped by her uncle. Here's the stomach-churning report, and Joe, try not to strain your jaw smiling.
After a rape exam and an interview with detectives,
they said that I wasn't molested. They said nothing came back.
What neither Vicky nor Sabrina knew was that the detective did send the rape kit to the state crime lab. Key evidence that, as it turns out, contained semen, proof of the rape.
the state lab sent this letter to the MCSO Special Victims Unit on May 16th, 2 months later, confirming semen was detected and requesting a blood sample from the suspect for DNA testing.
But instead of making an arrest, an MCSO detective put that letter into a file and closed the case. It was 4 years before they requested that blood sample, 5 years before they arrested Patrick Morrison.
As a result, Sabrina's nightmare got even worse. Morrison repeatedly raped her. She became pregnant, and because of physical complications, had an abortion.
That somehow didn't make one of your re-election ads.
You also racked up at least $142 million in legal fees, settlements, and court awards stemming from your unconstitutional handling of Latinos and sex crime victims, and harassing those who reported on them, which was paid for with taxpayer dollars. That's a very awkward conversation when you submit those receipts to accounting.
What's even crazier is the people of Maricopa County re-elected you 5 times. When did you discover your love of bigoted sadism was shared by so many people in America's fourth most populous county?
Well, gee, I don't have 50 hours to answer your Mickey Mouse questions that you get from some weekly newspaper. But let me summarize. I still have faith in the people of this county and this country. 24 years I've been the sheriff. They keep re-electing me. We don't have people dying in the jails, 157. The tent city, over 500,000 people came through the tents. No problems. 500,000. So I don't know where you're getting your statistics.
Joe, our apologies. We really need to stop treating confirmed facts as facts. Now, wouldn't the streets have been safer if instead of jailing Latinos, you jailed the people sadistic enough to vote for you?
You're calling the people sadistic that voted for me? The millions and millions of people that voted for me are sadistic? I don't think that's true.
Sheriff, you must be proud that by getting immigrants out of Arizona, you made Arizona safer for American-born child molesters.
I'm happy for doing my job. I'm an equal opportunity law enforcement guy. I lock everybody up.
Just a humble public servant exclusively and excitedly fulfilling the most f***ed up part of his job.
History will definitely look fondly on the "I was just following orders" defense. Just ask Goebbels.
Now let's take a moment to hear from our sponsor.
Whiplash. It hurts, and it happens when someone rams the back of your car, or if you're like Joe Arpaio, God puts you on the bullet train to hell. Try Medical Healing Solutions neck braces, because you don't want a stiff neck while Beelzebub is sodomizing you with a flaming telephone pole.
Excuse me, you're using my name for your advertising? What company is that? You ought to be paying me for it.
Atrocity lawyers are not cheap. Let's talk about how you were allowed to feast on America's organs before bursting out its chest.
What's that? I don't know where you're getting this. Organs?
Yeah, in 2011, a district judge ordered you to stop racially profiling Latinos, and finally, in 2017, a federal judge found you willfully violated the order by failing to do anything to ensure your subordinates' compliance, and by directing them to continue to detain persons for whom no criminal charges could be filed. 25 days later, before your sentencing, you were pardoned by President Donald Trump. Now, do you feel lucky that your conviction for genocidal law enforcement practices fell during our most genocide fetishizing modern presidency?
Well, I don't even know what you're talking about that. The pardon, I didn't ask the president for the pardon. He knew there was a hit piece. They've been after me. If they had all this evidence, 8 years to get this sheriff, they end up with a contempt of court, a hit piece type of situation. Think of that. It's the same as a barking dog. Same type of penalty.
But many in your tent city have committed minor crimes, so perhaps you should have just been sent to an outdoor furnace instead.
I'm proud of what I accomplished. I have no regrets. A few I may have, like Frank Sinatra sings in My Way. A few, but too few to mention.
We got a cease and desist from Frank Sinatra from beyond the grave. Interestingly enough, you were enabled by members of both parties. Let's talk about your old friend, Democrat Janet Napolitano. Napolitano won her 2002 run for governor of Arizona by a margin of fewer than 12,000 votes, and your endorsement might well have made the difference. After Napolitano's Republican opponent accused her of ineptitude in a child molestation case that she had prosecuted, you crossed party lines to defend her. You taped a television advertisement declaring she was the number one prosecutor of child molesters in the nation. High praise coming from the nation's number one enabler.
In December 2008, President Obama nominated Napolitano to be Secretary of Homeland Security, and she was soon confirmed. Shortly before she left the governorship, Napolitano took a cautious step. She denied state funding to Arpaio for undocumented immigrant roundups, and instead ordered that the money be used to pursue serious felons. Shortly thereafter, Napolitano resigned her governorship to take over for Chertoff at DHS. She could have immediately pulled Maricopa County's 287G powers, but she did not. Instead, she did so only after the U.S. Justice Department published a damning 2011 report on unlawful violations in Arpaio's jails.
I never endorsed Napolitano. I defended her because I was in law enforcement just like she was. So let's get that straight.
Oh, I really just love you and Janet in these photos from her little-known archived gubernatorial campaign website. You two are so close. The blood's almost getting on her hands.
Time for another word from our sponsors.
The time is now for Medicare for All, because Americans, regardless of income level, deserve to live long enough to watch Joe Arpaio die.
I've been critical of Medicare for All, but I think I finally heard the argument that made it click for me. Now, your wife Ava has the same first name as Adolf Hitler's wife. How long after you got married did you give her that first name?
I love that name. Ava is a great name. There used to be a great movie star called Ava Gardner.
Now, I don't want to seem like a hokey idealist, but could we look forward to a day where people will take the biggest imaginable on your grave?
Take the what on the grave?
Just giant dumps, big poops.
I have no idea about that, what the question is that you have.
I'm gonna start saving up now for my bouquet of doo-doos.
Whoop, I just remembered that life is fleeting and it's not worth wasting another second haranguing a monster, no matter how much he deserves to live by himself on Salt Flats. So let's wrap it there. Thank you to our analysts and guest, Sheriff Joe Arpaio.
Joe, let me just say, for all the bad you did, at least you got to dress up like a sheriff.
Good night, everyone.
You know I know a diner down the street. Do you wanna all go load up for that bowel movement together?
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
Definitely.